hope everyone is having an absolutely splendid day. As I wait for people to filter in, I will be editing my website. Once a few people have arrived, I will then start editing. So yeah, let's continue. Basic information. Let's add a role here. One of 3 main protagonists of the Brazen, the moral heart of the story. The moral heart of the story. There you go. Okay, that's a good thing to add. Let's start working on Clam because this look at this. Wait, read the autosave. Is there anything? I'm going to restore this autosave. And then hopefully it has more information. Oh, it just added personality and that's it. Oh, that's so sad. Okay, we need to work on this immediately. So let's go. So name, age, hatching day. Alright, name, age, and hatching day, and then we want to write a profession as well. Why is there this strange gap here? I'm not entirely sure, but name is Clam, age is approximately 50, though she does not know her real age. Alright. There we go. Hatching day, I will figure that out later. Profession, servant. Alright. And have I shuffled the music? I have not. Let's shuffle the music. There we go, beautiful. Kind yet bitter, individual intent on revenge. Alright, what else do I need to put for her? Beliefs. How did I misspell beliefs that badly? It's amazing. Alright, let's turn this into a heading. Heading, there you go. Beautiful. I love this art I did of her and her little whiskers with the rings on them. It's cute. Let's that she cannot afford to hope for more than she has, lest she go mad with longing. Let's add a quote section too. Quaws. That sure sounds like a word. Why do I keep on misspelling everything? It's alright. The keyboard is far from me because I can't really show you it, but I have my drawing tablet and I have my keyboard really far in front of me, which is probably a bad idea. Hold on a sec. I'm going to take my drawing tablet, move it to the side, and then... Oh, this is so much better. So much dust on it. Okay, actually, no, there's no room for my mouse if I move it there, because my desk is so small. Alright, guess I'll just type like a shrimp. It's all good, I'm used to it. Okay, and then we'll find good quotes once we go through. It's a very sparse character profile, but you know what? Let's see if someone's here. No one's here yet. Oh no. Well, gotta keep going until someone is here, and then I will start editing. Perhaps because people are here for editing, I should just start editing. Because if they jump in and they see me editing my website, they're going to be annoyed because... and rightfully so. So let's continue working on the story. And let me quickly check one thing. No response, let's say okay. Alright, someone is here, so let's get going. Make the cold more, and let's take a look at the keynotes to keep track of. Make the cold more of an overriding presence. Sanrio is now called Sanala. Let's change this to Paul for clarity. Magic is now named moon that grants power its grace, e.g. Eshvim's grace. Also rename the moons besides Eshevis, Minos and Doros are not it just yet. Maybe the one that sees all, Atarete, the one that wanders constellations, Eshevim, the one which grants flowers, Garams and Allah, cumulatively called those who move the seas. Alright. And then I'm looking over all of this, and I think that's about it. So we are on we finished chapter 10. So let's go ahead and nab chapter 11. And what I'm going to do is I will first just copy and paste it, and then I'll read through it all aloud as I edit, so that you don't have to look at the screen to know what's going on. So yeah, let's go here. And I will edit as I go. What am I looking for specifically for Lumen's notes? Make sure the narration is in the style of the character's personality, and avoid inserting your voice into the character's narration. It should be theirs, not mine. Should be theirs, not mine. Yeah, there we go. Alright. So for people who are new here, wait, I think I have made an about command. Let me try it out. About. Excellent. Feel free to use the lurk command or not, as you please. So let's begin editing chapter 12. No, we're on. No. Chapter 11. There we go. There it is. Lumen's belongings arrived on Aki Vaher, the 6th of Kavin in the Jan, just before the 3rd gong. And perhaps I should lower the YouTube. No, that should be good. Lumen's belongings arrived on Aki Vaher, the 6th of Kavin Najan, just before the 3rd gong. Even in her disoriented state, she'd made sure to track the time. She'd spent the mornings with her tail lashing the water, pacing back and forth. Her wounds ached, but boredom ached more. Of course, she'd just have to have gone and visited Junara before this and been subject to incisive stares. She must have a reputation as a madwoman now. So many had seen her wander about Kairos' halls with nothing more than a hospital shift. The largest packages contained... this is a bit of a sudden jump. So we've got the introspection, and then suddenly we've got description of the packages. So maybe I can reorder this. I'm not entirely sure how, though. It feels like... How do I make this segue into each other? Is this even a problem, or am I just overthinking it? I think it is an issue, because it was a sudden jump from introspection to the external world that it jarred me, and I wrote this, you know, so it's definitely going to jar other people if they read it. So let's figure out how to make a segue, or reorder the paragraphs. How about what about this? If I just reorder the paragraphs. Let's try this again. Lumen's belongings arrived in Aki Vaher at the 6th of Kavin in Ajan just before the 3rd gong. Even in her disoriented state, she'd made sure to track the time. She'd spent the mornings with her tail lashing the water, pacing back and forth. Her wounds ached, but boredom ached more. The largest packages contained the clothes, all in this traditional... Wait, this is now Sanala style and cut. A shame they'd have to go, though she'd retain a few for sentiment's sake. And yeah, yes, okay, there we go. It actually works because it talks about the packages, then we have interiority about the packages, but it's still interiority, and then we have more interiority. Yes, okay, that works. Just reordering because, yay, it works. I'm happy. And of course, she'd just have to have gone and visited Junara before this and been subject to incisive stares. She must have a reputation as a madwoman now. So many had seen her wander about Kairos' halls with nothing more than a hospital shift. She unearthed many things in the packages, a few ferments, some storage jars, figurines of crabs, her childhood pets, some sadry in various degrees of size and burnish, enclosed in a business silk bag. She'd have to have the pearls assessed to find out how much they'd amount to, her makeup, hair gel, and ornaments. Finally, she could make herself presentable. Eventually, she reached a proper treasure. The letter was long, of course. Leshka had never been one for brevity. And it's unclear who the she here is referring to, so let's change that and change that to Leshka. Or I could change this to her beloved. So it's clearer that it's not talking about Lumen, but it's the Lumen's beloved refers to Leshka above. Lumen's beloved might not be permitted to write to her. It was thought to bring ill moral health to write to a bloodless, so this very well may be the last letter she'd ever receive from her beloved. Repetition of beloved now, because of my edit. Synonym for... I'm not typing. Synonym for beloved. Let's take a look. Why is there this? No, thank you. Ads be gone. Cookies be gone. None of this works. These are all too sappy. Beloved is almost too sappy too. For Lumen. Wait, that's draft 5. We're here. I think I made up a word, but I shouldn't include it because it's too much cognitive load on the reader. They have words for the people they're dating. Let's do Lumen's former partner. I think that works. It feels distant. I like that because it corresponds to how Lumen perceives the world. It was thought to bring ill moral health to write to a bloodless, so this very well be the last letter she'd ever receive from her beloved. Before opening the letter, she prepared a sheath of green front paper. Squinting to cloud her vision, she placed it over the opened letter, obscuring all but the very first line. Dedicated to my beloved owner. Tears sprang. Let's change this to Lumen's eyes. Shameful to be reduced to them so quickly, she cradled the letter to her chest for a long while. Another letter, this one from I'm. Lumen wouldn't savor this one. She hadn't expected I'm to write. Mother might punish them severely for writing to her and sending a gift, and the elder seemed to hold little fondness for her. Why had they sent it? Enclosed was one of Im's holy artworks. It slipped out as she opened it. She'd frame it. The letter itself was short. Im had a sort of affliction that lent itself to extreme laconicism. They preferred to sign their words, and signed little when they did. She had a trace of that same affliction herself, though not nearly to the same extent. From mathematician Im v. San Kafit. Do not try to come back. I know you will. You are safe off there. You have broken my artworks and scratched me. You know little, but you must know that I forgive you. May the currents bring you fortune. As usual, a condescending remark. Im always found the space to insult her, even in their brevity. One day she would write back to Im as Dr. Lumen Vaniaxe. She retrieved the fallen sheath of green front from the floor. Im opted for the more expensive, steadier variety. The artwork itself was stunning. Geometric patterns wove their way about the page, almost alive with... I think... Let's remove the word there, because it's just completely unnecessary. Almost alive with depth. The evening gong harshly interrupted her reverie. And then let's change this she to Lumen's, because otherwise we have 2 paragraphs in a row beginning with she, and that's too much repetition. Lumen found some healing salve in the remnants of her luggage, applied it, and got to... Did I misspell organizing? No, it's just being American-centric. It's with an S, not a Z. What was the name of the wait. It's Sanalana, who'd sent Junara to her. Idanyan, some sort of flower. It was Idanala, she was sure of it. And then, oh no, keep on starting the paragraphs with she. Need to fix that. Lumen asked a few servants where to find reception with the diplomats, and eventually found her way to a clerk, the line to his desk empty. She'd have to debase herself by asking the way back. This place was a labyrinth. She bowed, a peremptory movement. I seek audience with Idanala. And it says add Anne, but no, I refuse. I refuse. And then I'm realizing there's no description of the clerk here. The clerk raised an arched eyebrow. That's all the description you're getting of him. Lumen doesn't really analyze people's appearances, so yeah. And I'm trying to keep things sort of terse, like she is. That's exalted it in a lot to you. You're the lowest waning. What business could someone like you have with her? And Lumen replies, she sent a simple, emaciated child to me. Knowing of my reputation, I seek to reprimand her. He laughed out loud. Alright, go on in. I'll guide you to her. This is sure to work out splendidly. He guided her to Idenla's office within an acceptable time frame, and slid the door that appeared to be a seamless part of the wall to the side. It revealed a small office with several shelves weighed down by paraphernalia. A thin woman in voluminous robes drew geometric patterns at a large desk that consumed most of the room. Idenla, Lumen said, addressing the woman by her first name to show she didn't care for formalities. May the currents bless our meeting. Idenla took off her gold-plated spectacles and rose from her desk with a gentle smile. Welcome, dear. I am Lumen Varniaxe. You sent Junara Lokaida to me. Should she be hissing the dialogue? I think yes, so let's change that. Actually, let's move she hissed to the front of the dialogue. Because otherwise, if I put she hissed at the end of the dialogue, it's unclear that she's actually hissing this. But if it's at the beginning, you know the tone immediately. I am Lumen Varniaxe, she hissed. You sent Junara Lokaida to me. The indignity of it still grated on her. Why would you send a vulnerable child to one with a reputation such as mine? It's a pleasure to drop the doddering old woman act I have to do with everyone else. I intimidate them, you see. I didn't assume a disgraced woman would be aggressive. After all, I once was one. Not bloodless like you, not in such a dire state, but I have no reason to fear the ones discarded. I have always enjoyed a good prank, Sol, she continued, smiling so wide the false eye patterns on the inside of her mouth were revealed. I was told you were too arrogant for your own good, not that you were dangerous. I always enjoy seeing the downfall of those who sharpen their teeth in the mirror. Lumen didn't know how to respond to that. And oh, I need to make it clear that this is... What's it? Idenla speaking. Okay. We need to make it this clear that it's Idenla speaking. Idenla pressed her fingers together. You're Brazen coming to me in this state? I am well aware. I could have you killed, she said softly. You truly are as full as he. Lumen hissed and flared her fins, unfurling her shoulder to display her false eyes. That was his first mission, she growled, and you spent it as a prank. Idenla blinked at that. Lumen made eye contact, forcing Idenla to look away. I am Sanala, but I have no loyalty to you. Very well, I have heard. I suppose you were let in because my clerk supposed... repetition of suppose. Because my clerk... Let's change this to assumed. Very well, I have heard. I suppose you were let in because my clerk assumed I would have you executed. He always seems to take more medically in that. But I am glad he decided to fail in his duties and let you in. It turns out I was the one sharpening... But let's change this to punished, because she doesn't have people executed. That was the old version of her character. It turns out I was the one sharpening my teeth in the mirror, not you. The elegant woman bowed to her in a style she didn't recognize. It could be hidden mocking, but she doubted it. Lumen wanted to ask what the style meant, but refused to disgrace herself by revealing her lack of knowledge. I note your confusion, and I mean your respect. I bow as one chastise. I suppose the meanings of the motions differ from house to house. I kind of want to reintroduce Lumen's name here. Maybe at a beat of... What's it called? Action? Action beat? Yes. Instead of just going straight to introspection, I think action beat then introspection would be really good. So, what to do? How do I figure out the action beat? My brain has come to a complete blank. So I want to start with her name, and that's clear. That's clear to me. So action beat. Restrained a grimace. There we go. Now it works. It works now. Lumen restrained a grimace. How shameful that her emotions were obvious. Her scent had always been strong like an Aldur's. She should have more restraint. Her scent should be utterly controlled, like the regal woman of old and new. Have you nothing more to say to me? Lumen's mind blanked. She hadn't rehearsed anything. She eventually decided on saying, I do not. Well, I do. I thank you. I have little to thank others for in recent suns. No, I'm not going to correct that today's Google Docs. And let's change this to Idinala rather than she, just to avoid repetition of the word she. I will have to make it up to the child somehow. Words finally came to her. How do you plan to rectify your mistake? I will have to guide him personally. I admire Ehuna, but she is currently in too poor a state to lead him. I will have to avoid using him to prank others, though I still wish I could have seen the look on your face when you met your receiver. I know it grates on you. You clearly care for him, but there is no respect. And yeah, let's change this to Lumen over she, because too many instances of the word she in this draft so far. Lumen dodged the verbal attack. Are you on a first-name basis with Ehuna, or is this another misgiving? And answer me properly. How do you plan to fix the indignity you caused both him and me? I knew you'd take it poorly. I might personally tutor him. Sons know I have the time. What about monetary compensation? She'd heard Ehuna had fallen into bankruptcy. To you? Lumen could use that, but she refused pity money. Ta-da. And yeah, there's so much said, so many sentences beginning with she. Let's fix that. Idinala laughed. Him by his last name and me by my first. You truly are brazen. Ah well, he does deserve some respect. Most treat him like some kind of particularly clever pet. He only learned how to talk just a few years ago, do you know? He's making such brilliant progress. No one expected Huna's simple son of all people to pass the test to become a diplomat, but he did. Wait, is it recording my voice? Yes, it is. I panicked for no reason. Will you give him the money or not? She laughed. How direct. Truly matching your reputation. Sit. She availed. Get it? I have so many characters with the same pronouns, so I can't just alternate between he and she, or they and she, or they and he. I have to use the names, otherwise everything begins with the word she. Lumina availed herself of the small, uncomfortable stool masquerading as a seat, and decided she would leave the moment she confirmed it didn't send the money. I'm not leaving until I see. Oh wait. Okay, we'll edit this later. But I do need to change the pronouns of how they refer to Junara. I might do that off stream because it's time consuming and not very informative. Yeah, I think I'll just do that off stream because it's not interesting. Lumen availed herself of the small, uncomfortable stool masquerading as a seat and decided she would leave the moment she confirmed it didn't last send the money. I'm not leaving until I see you write a letter of apology to him, inclusive Sadri. I see, so you threaten me with your company? Very well, I will write the letter now. I think this should be shall. It feels more formal. This is going better than expected. In truth, she hadn't expected anything at all, good or bad. She just acted. Idinala put on her gold-plated glasses and retrieved a sheath of green frond and a scroll case before sitting down at the desk. Lumen peered over the desk but couldn't interpret the upside-down letters. Don't be a sneak, Idinala reprimanded. This letter is for him. I assure you it is consolatory. Allow me to focus. Lumen continued to try and interpret the upside-down letters as Idinala focused, suppressing a few twinges of pain from the burns and 5 kill bites. She made up the first paragraph before the letter was wrapped up in the scroll case, along with a few large, how would I describe pieces of Sadri? Few large, I think it works as it is. It seemed adequate, though not enough to truly make up for the indignity of Dar's first ever mission being a prank. He'd done a decent job at least, guided her to her destination, and gave her 3 instances of her in a single sentence. No, we must amend that. That should suffice. I will tutor him also, in whatever he wishes to learn. Diplomats are slippery like eels. How can I ensure you will stay fast to your word? You will simply have to trust me. I will send the scroll now to allay your suspicions. Perhaps she can meet with Dar later and ask if Idinala held true to her promise. Ahram, enter. Ahram made his way into the room. Are you done chastising her now? Want me to send her to the sharks? She is done chastising me. Let's make that in italics. I have a letter to send to Janara Lokaida. Lumen turned on the chair, digging into her wounds, facing Ahram. She made a child's first diplomatic mission a prank. Ahram spoke. I thought you were just mad she sent you a simple child, and you were going to be chum. He's not simple, she hissed. Let's change this to Lumen. And we can all swallow the stars whenever we please. Ahram, Idinla said coldly. He only started speaking a few years ago. Give him grace. In time, I'm sure he'll be a great diplomat to rival the Huna. He stutters Idinala and falls asleep in most meetings. He can barely speak his own language, let alone others. I thought you hired me because you were tired of mistruths and people hiding their true beliefs. Are you now the typical diplomat you complain of? He only got into the circle because he's a Huna's child. He did pass the test. It's not just nepotism. Perhaps he is simple, but he has many skills. The test is whether or not you can tolerate the other species. It doesn't measure competence. You know that. Being able to attune to the Mind Stone that administers the test is a clear sign of intelligence. They stared at each other for a while, neither breaking eye contact. Deliver the letter, would you, Achim? Where does he live? Koanag, room 23. I'll be on my way. Currents favor the both of you. And let's change this to Sanala. Now that he's gone, would you like to speak as one Sanala woman to another? Lumen desperately wanted this, but Adinala would want it too. Lumen swam up and made her way to the door. May the currents favor you, she said, and tugged the door. It didn't open. She heard, let's remove repetition of tugged and change that to pulled. She had pulled it the wrong way. The other way, dear. She growled as she left. Despite leaving Idunala lonely, it still felt like Idunala was the victor of their conversation. At least she'd gotten done some surgery. So there we go. That is chapter 11, almost completely edited. And all I need to do now for that chapter, and I'll do this off stream, change he to she in reference to Da, because Junara Lokai Da is a closeted trans boy. So he would go by masculine pronouns, but unfortunately he's not out yet, so people are going to think of him as a girl. Okay, I still have energy for one more chapter to edit. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Maybe I can even do chapter 13 as well. That would be nice. Okay. Wait, what did I do here? Did I just copy and paste the wrong chapter? I don't think that I did. But let's copy it again and then start Control C. There we go. Bloop. Okay, it looks like it's not registering as... Yeah, so this is a heading, but it's not registering as a heading. I think heading 2. There we go. Now it's registered. Then let's change that to Times New Roman. Alright. Chapter 12, Echo of the Gong. And then... Missing... Epigraph. Why is that... Eh? How do I make it... No, I want it to be in accordance to the thing. I don't understand what to do here. What if I do here? I'm just gonna... Aha! I have figured it out. Alright. So whenever there's a bracket, that indicates an area where I need to edit. For example, if I tried to make an epigraph right now, that would take around 10 minutes or so, and it would slow down the stream unnecessarily. So I'm going to just edit the chapter. And oh, I think a friend requested that I share the stream with her. So let me... There we go. I sent her the link now. Okay, so chapter 12, Echo of the Gong. Clam sat holding a pillow in her arms, staring at the gong. There was little else to stare at in this tiny room besides the tiling, a few shelves, and a hammock. It almost looked like a place they'd give to a servant. The gong's burnished metal shone in the dull light. She wanted to pray before it again, to place her hands where another Soren's might have once rested. They'd only a few weeks to improve Janara's grades before they were assessed, and she'd already spent 1 week sick. If she failed as her guardian, she'd be right back with, and I changed Zora's name to Chair Allure. She'd be alright back in the kitchens. She'd even be alright with the cruel master. Either she'd die quickly from injury or the bastard would come down with her. Clam stopped her break and went back to polishing the already shining tiles. And oh, this is Clam's perspective, so I'm going to... There you go. So if you don't know of her, she is a bitter yet kind servant intent on revenge. She believes hope is dangerous and that she should try to never want for more than she has, lest she go mad with longing. Alright, so that's Clam as an introduction, and she's currently been assigned to Junara as his guardian. It's a bit complicated as to why, but so I won't get into it. Because I think maybe I should describe the relationships of the characters in the commands. Yeah, the relationships they have to each other. Clam as a sort of mother figure to Junara. Clam stopped her break and went back to polishing the already shining tiles. If someone interrupted her, she didn't want to be seen idle, and a creeping anxiety stole over her when she was lazy. She shouldn't have said... Let's change this to the girl. She shouldn't have said the girl was lucky. Now she might feel guilty for being alive where others died, just like her. A self-obsessed loner. Like, let's change her to Clam. Like, Clam got to live till old age, but so many other upstanding servants didn't. And why did Junara seem to carry a servant's fear? She was exalted, but she had none of their surety. If not for her hissing at Clam, she would have said the girl wasn't like an Orakin at all. And let's change this, because Azran used to be called Azran, but now he's called Junara. She looked for Jun and found her humming and tracing her hands over an embroidered pillow. Sometimes she hid under the blankets, and Clam couldn't see her. Let's edit that so it's according. She'd given Clam a start so many times by seeming to vanish on her. Oh, hello! Hello, Naiko and Dr. Sirloin. I am writing a high fantasy book. Wait, I think I have an about section. Alright, if I do this... Naikona, got it? Great to meet you. Happy to see you here. And how are you, Dr. Sirloin? I'm doing well. Oh wait, you're working on a high fantasy novel as well? Awesome! Heck yeah! Can you tell me more about it? I'd love to hear more about your world. Okay, and okay, I will continue reading, and I'll go check on chat in about 1 minute. Oh, you're working too. Got it. I hope the music is nice and aids in concentration. Good luck with your tasks. Now that you're all better, I can finally deliver. Oh, okay, I forgot about this. Maybe your mic could be a bit louder. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so this is my audio input capture. It's already at maximum, but if I go to advanced audio properties... Hey, why did it go back down to normal? 150%. Okay, so now when I speak, you're fascinated by my accent. I'm able to understand each word. Where are you from? So I was born in the UK, but my mom is American and my dad is Russian. And some people have said I sound French. Other people have said I sound American. Other people have said I sound British. Generally, Americans think I sound British, and British people think I sound American, which is very funny. And let me go put on a nice song here. Where's a cool one? Oh, I love the sea. This one's a good one. Alright. Yep, I'm from the UK. And so Clam originally had a phonetic accent, but she is writing the way she's speaking because she's a Soren, and Soren are... Hold on a sec, I can actually bring up Clam's page. She's this. She looks like this. She's like a dolphin slash a moray eel. So she can't speak in the typical sense. And I looked up, I thought of a sort of tapped Morse code. Hello, Ans, how are you? I was thinking that maybe a sort of tapped Morse code could work. Oh god, it is time! Make me do 20 squats, alright. I'm gonna keep the music as it is because I really love this song. Oh god, all of them! It's all of them! And Nakuna says, I'm writing a novel where Britannia steals a scientist who possessed the atomic knowledge to the Frank and triggered the Fifth World War. Ooh, that is super cool. That is a really good premise for a novel. Gotta start the cooldowns. Yep, exactly. I've got to hurry so that I don't have to do this twice. Gotta get things done as quickly as possible. Alright. Can people see me? Let me check. Okay, you redeemed 20 squads first. So yes, people can see me here. Let me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 squats, 10 push-ups, and 30 sit-ups. Are you kidding? Nope, I do them. Okay, 10 push-ups time. Can people see me here? Probably need to skedaddle a bit over here. I just face planted into the... Okay, let's start over from the beginning. Into the giant bean bag in the way. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the worst part, 30 sit-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll briefly check on chat. Alright, okay, if people are talking amongst themselves. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. There we go. Right, there we go. Exercise is all done. I am now safe for 1 hour. Oh, good luck with your assignment, Sans. Alright. And now let's go back to editing. Hi, Miafa. Thank you for the good luck. Alright. She shouldn't have said the girl was lucky. Now she might feel guilty for being alive, but others died, just like her. A self-obsessed loner like Clam got to live to old age, but so many other upstanding servants didn't. And why did Junara seem to carry a servant's fear? She was exalted, but she had none of their surety. If not for her hissing at Clam, she would have said that the girl wasn't like an Arakan at all. Alright, sorry for my heavy breathing, I just did 30 sit-ups. She looked for... Let's change this to Clam. Clam looked for Jun, and found her humming and tracing her hands over an embroidered pillow. Sometimes she hid under the blankets and Clam couldn't see her. Alright, you just need to take a little bit of a breather, because turns out, speaking so soon after exercising without any water... Okay, I'll get water and be right back. Enjoy the song. I will be right back. Alright, I am back. This time I have coconut water with me. Alright, now I can continue. Now that you're all better, I can finally deliver these letters to you. I'll read it. I have a letter, she said, is flowing wide out as could be. God, she was adorable. Clam opened the seal of the metal tube and out popped a scroll. From Adinala Laikan Ishun, Prime Diplomat. Gennaro Kaida, you have my sincerest apologies for sending you to Lumen without adequate preparation. You performed extremely well given the circumstances, and for that I would be happy for you to become my personal student. I too could aid you in learning diplomacy along with Akuna. You would have the tutelage of not one, but two legendary diplomats. I hope the currents have carried this message well, along with Akram. And I need to change this to veil, not blindfold. And because again, Junar is closeted and trans, they don't know that he's a guy. She could only imagine the pupils in her eyes widening to large. Let's change this to Clam for clarity's sake. Clam could only imagine the pupils in her eyes widening to large black dots under the veil, one of the only sweet things about Arakan. I am very lucky, she said after a time. Want to go visit her tomorrow? Sure, that'd be very pleasing. Actually, I think we might have to wait until after we're assessed. We need to focus on your work. She circled her head, despondent. The sad look on her face reminded Clam of when she talked about Che-Alo. It was a darker topic, and she didn't want to disturb the girl while she was already sad. Clam would ask what Che-Alo did to her later. So it's mostly just changing the pronouns and the names to account for the fact that Junara is a closeted trans guy. And Zore changed to Che-Alo. She popped open the tab of the other scroll case with a satisfying thwack. She'd always loved that sound. And started reading. I am so sorry that I gave you minimal instructions in your dealings with this child. My job demands too much of me. Here, I have enclosed a list of the child's favorite foods. Make sure she is fed plenty. There was no signature. And shouldn't there be more instruction? Clam was certain. She knew nothing of Arakan. She read the long list aloud to her. Junara flinched and put a hand to his gills. Oh wait, calls it a trans guy. Let's fix that. I'm allergic to moonfish. Moonfish got me put in hospital once. It could have been a mistake, Clam said, but she doubted it was. There would be another attempt on his life soon, once this didn't work out. What else are you allergic to? I don't remember all of it. She was a servant. They wouldn't let her access doctor's records. Can you try to remember? It's very important. She told Clam the rest. It went on for a good bit. Gods, she hoped she would remember all of this. And then need to change she to the name of the character. Clam decided to talk to... Let's change her to the girl. About what Che-Alo had done the day after, when she was already miserable. Junara sat curled up and rocking back and forth. What did Che-Alo do to you? You don't have to... He said I needed to become someone else and would never be a good diplomat because a competent diplomat has no stutter, never fidgets, and certainly doesn't look like a turn-out washcloth. Rage bubbled within her like a deep-sea vent. She'd been put down to the second lowest rating for her outbursts, for declaring she'd killed the next Arakan she could put her so-called delicate certain hands on, and she felt the same anger as the day she'd ruined her life. There's something else I need to tell you. I think someone might... She couldn't say. The girl would be terrified. Might what? Might want to have you killed, she thought. And let's make sure that this is clear in the audiobook. So I'm going to add she thought, just so that when I read this aloud, it's clear she's not speaking this. Does Che-Alo have any reason to hate you? Yes, because I never do what he says and hum all the time and it hurts his ears. Itilerai had said, Chetalaw, changed his right to Chetalaw. I wanted her back, that he wanted to fix Junara. It might not be him. Maybe Junara was like some pet to him, one he wanted to press into obedience, but people were fond of their pets. They didn't have them killed. Perhaps it wasn't him who sent a murderous servant to a small child, but perhaps it would be Chetalaw she'd stab. Or poison, or throttle. She wished she knew what he looked like so she could imagine the life draining from this horrible slit people to recognize. Are you alright? Let's make it clear that it's June. I'm alright, just distracted. What's his goal for you? And then, to make me normal? And then, because he can't pick up on her accent because there is no accent anymore, I think you are just fine the way you are. But I stutter and only understand history well. No one needs to be good at everything. I want to be good at everything. We aren't gods, we only have so much time in these waters. I recommend sticking with what you're good at and loving what you do. A trace of bitterness marred her words. If only she'd had more time for embroidery. Instead, she'd spent it serving those she'd rather throttle. She'd had to massage... Okay, good. I was checking my... what's it called? My chat. I thought my internet had gone off again, but it's good. She'd had to massage people who'd beaten children to a pulp and give them the finest of ferments. Maybe being a servant was a sin that got you sent into the caste in the first place. It was cowardice to attend people like that. Maybe you got out of it by rebelling and refusing to work. You'd die, and a horrible death at that, but at least you wouldn't have to live knowing you'd served scum. Clam? Junara shook her gently, and she flinched. Why did this skinny child scare her so much? He hadn't turned to rot yet. She was as safe as any Orakan could be. Let's change this to the girl. The girl was safe as any Orakan could be. I think I have a debt. To you, to the world. I want to repay everyone I failed, starting with you. But you haven't failed me. I didn't notice you were sick, and I let you get into that awful state. That was my fault. I just assumed an Orakan would smell like rot because of what you usually eat. I don't like aged meat much. I like Lishem, though. That was aged meat, just aged meat wrapped in sweet kelp. She was Orakan after all. That reminded Clam. She should get the kid more food. She looked sad and lanky from the stay in the infirmary, even with the Aldor giving him food. It was one part of the Orakan that was kind. They could give the food they ate to one another. Let's change that to one another to make it slightly more fancy, because I like the fantasy feel it evokes through their shula, those terrifying fins that looked like eyes staring down. I'll get you that and some sweets. It was a short and refreshing swim to the kitchens even with her injuries. Thank the gods her rectory was close by. She wasn't sure she could swim to one further away. Let's make this a new paragraph, for clarity's sake. They were more than happy to oblige her, and she soon had a tray piled high with delicacies hailing from around the oceans. Usually she would hate giving such fine food. Let's change this to the exalted. But now she smiled at the heaped plate. The swim back made her wounds ache fiercely. As the girl ate, one of her small fangs fell off and pierced her lip. The new fangs growing in seemed too large and unwieldy for her face. When she opened her mouth to smile or talk, it was a bloody maw. Here, she brandished a half-chewed roll before realizing the mistake and selecting an unchewed delicacy. I can't have any. It's Arakan food. It could kill me. Use stinging tentacles as garnish and poison as seasoning. I'm going to visit Lumen soon. Is that alright with you? Don't you have lessons? I still feel sick. She didn't want to stress her. Overworked servants were always the first to die. She wasn't as overworked as a servant, but she could still get sick from the strain. And paragraph scene break. A knock at the door surprised Lumen just as she'd finished organizing. She slid the door open, and it ended up slamming against the wall with a reverberating thud. Her strength was returning. Dalhad curled up into a small ball, most likely due to the sound. So it was the emaciated child, the daughter of the disgraced Ahuna? Not a bureaucrat. A welcome interruption. Rise. I will not slam the door on you again, I promise. She unfurled like Shula and bowed. Change this to the child, because Lumen views Dot as very tiny and someone to protect. And I think this saying the child inferred like Sheila and bowed is a pretty good way. Oh, thank you for the follow, much appreciated. Saying the child unfurled like Sheila really shows that Lumen is protective of him. Greetings, how have the currents favored you? Ashamed I couldn't see her. She would have been impressed. Lumen had bandaged and salved all her wounds and could now hold herself with dignity. Her Sanala clothes hung loosely on her, but complemented her colours well. She should scare him off. Already she terrified him by inadvertently slamming the door. Explained one she to Lumen. She had her mother's blood, and she knew how mother treated children. I'm and she still bore scars from her ages. Even an iota of her influence over the child was inexcusable. First, she had to bow. As the lowest remaining, she was obligated to prostrate to all or else face discipline. The child was blind and would not bear witness, but she still had to debase herself before her. I am Araxe, she said. It was part true. Let's change this to partly. Araxe witnessed Solus Arakan consumed by the urge to hunt. It might have been true of her as a child, but the hierarchy's doctrine had taught her discipline and turned her into a woman worthy of the Kaffite name. A shame it had been stolen from her so soon after she'd rightfully earned it. The child seemed nonplussed. Leave. Let's make that a separate paragraph. Leave, she boomed. But you have treated me kindly. She pinched the bridge of her nose, careful not to slash herself. I have treated you with basic dignity. That is not kindness. To you, what is being treated kindly? No one hits me or tries to exercise me, and they answer my questions. That is again basic dignity. Why would they try to exercise you? Because I said words without knowing what they meant. They thought that meant a spirit had me. I just had a good memory for sound. She wished she had such a good memory. All important things left her without innumerable repetitions. She bowed again, this time willingly. She wasn't meant to bow sincerely to a child, but she wanted to, so she did. She laughed. Are you bowing to me? Why? A scent of shame escaped her composure. Hello, Spirefox. How are you? I hope you're having a splendid day. I bow to your good memory. I admire all those with great recollections, She'd almost confessed her failures. Why? Didn't she have more decorum than this? What was in that assassin's venom must have destabilized her. Oh, I'm doing well. I have coconut water. I've had coffee. I just did some exercise. I'm doing really well. How has your week been? I hope it's been good. Yes, you return walk. Oh, nice. Walking is very fun. I hope the weather was good. Thank you, she said with her head hanging down, but I got a fever and it went away. They just said the spirit went away, but I don't believe them. Lumen wasn't sure how to express sympathy. She gave him a pat. She gave Child a pat on the arm, and she flinched. She was blind, no doubt it was a start to be patted without warning. Made tasty pastry for Mom last night. Oh, that's lovely. I think it was Mother's Day in the US yesterday. So that's awesome. I'm really happy you made something awesome for her. It's very kind of you. She should find some other way to make the child leave. So Lumen here is a very buff warrior type, and there's this child that's insistent on befriending her, and Lumen had an abusive mother, and she's afraid of being the same person her mother was. Effectively, for full context here. She clung to her arm. Lumen abhorred the child being so close to her mother's blood. She had the same feeling as when she'd held a tiny quivering crab. One wrong move and she could crush the fragile life in her hands. One wrong move and she could slash. She reached for the caps worn when writing, the ones that prevented her from cutting the paper with her talons. What are you doing? I have talons. I sharpen them. I am getting caps so that if I forget your presence and move thoughtlessly, I will not harm you. Thank you. Chair Allure didn't do anything like that, and he heard me. She pointed her face at Lumen, seeming to scrutinize her intently even through the veil. You're different. How would you know? Because you haven't heard me. You have only known me for a few days, Dar. That is insufficient. You cannot know truly if I mean you well. She brought out her notes on medicine and began to review Arakshan's on common ailments and their treatments for the... How many times had she reviewed this? Seemingly kind people can betray you. Always be wary. Wary? Afraid. I can do that easily, she chirped. Good. She clung to Lumen's arm. Oh wait, I can use the last name. And let's change that to... because Lumen refers to Gennaro by his last name. Dar clung to her arm as she spoke. Unbidden, thoughts festered, interrupting her focus. She remembered what Mother did to her and saw herself doing it to the child. Screeching at him. Locking her in a closet. Backhanding her. Was it all inevitable? It was in her blood, after all. Arakan took after their parents. She was already a monster for imagining this. After a while, she spoke. You're boring. I'm going. May the currents flow with you. So all she had to do to get the child to go was be silent. Good. She left with a bow. So Lumen here has harm OCD, and she's very paranoid of hurting people, even though she's a very good person. Okay, let's go and start editing chapter 13 now, titled Plaguebearer. And then I think this will be the final chapter that I'm going to be editing today, but I still have energy, so I might as well continue. Chapter 13, Plaguebearer. In class, everyone knew Junara's name, and he knew all their names, but he was still lonely. The only person who talked to him was Oritsano, and the boy tried to hunt him half the time. He fell asleep in some of the lessons, but did his best to use his memory. It hurt, but if he concentrated a certain way, he could remember everything people said. It was different from understanding things, it was just the sounds, but he could review the lessons at his own leisure. The sports teacher gave him a blanket and some hot ferments, and insisted that he sleep. Junara's tail ached, and he felt weird all over from the infection. He wasn't in the mood to swim today, so he slept. And let me, for newcomers, let me... There you go. The command for Junara. I need to make a list of commands so that people can use them at their own leisure. After lessons, Oritsano found him. The boy always did, even though Junara didn't have a scent. You're like me. You bit everyone. How did you stop? I want my parents to be proud of me. Junara fiddled with his braid to organize his thoughts. I still bite when I'm scared. I didn't stop. And why hadn't you hunted me? They gave me something. It tastes awful, but I'm not as angry anymore. But I'm still scared, and I hurt people when I'm scared. I don't know how to stop being scared. I hear them talking about me. They say I'm a Raxay. They're going to kill me and feed my hearts in the ice. I won't even be reborn. And why do you take so long to talk? It's annoying. I'm sorry, he blurted out. He could never pronounce words right if he spoke too quickly. The thoughts were all scrambled together in his head, and as he took the time to weave them together, the waters shifted. Oritsano must have moved. Yes, it's perfect. I am so tempted to make that the command, even though it's so unwieldy. Yes, you know what, maybe I can make that command and then I can make a commands command, so that if people want to take the time to write that out, they can, just for fun. I love that. The waters shifted. Oritsano must have moved. I remember what should be done. You will infect all of us if I am not through with you. I remember plagues, and you are a bearer. This time I will hunt you because I should, not because I am an animal. Junara fled. He was taller than all the kids his age, but that wouldn't help if he dislocated something. The ways were close by. He slipped into the cold caverns, and Oritsano banged on what the water told him was an empty passage. The sound made... Let's make it clear that it's Junara here, jolting, not Oritsano. You're a spirit. No normal kid can go through a wall like that, and you're always sick. You will kill all of us. You're bigger than me, but I'm brave, and I will wait here until you come back out. Thankfully, the ways had many exits, so Junara was safe. Even though he knew this, he felt himself curl up and cry. He felt calm inside, so it didn't make sense why his body was doing this. It was safe. Oritsano couldn't hunt him. Oritsano had set too young. He remembered his family's lives. He remembered what it was like to be an animal before they had become a Rakan, and was consumed by instinct. What would it be like to remember all that? Junara hoped he would set soon, and remember everything except what it was like to be an animal. Maybe it would make him wiser. He was still shaking. Orotsuna was silent, but Junara could feel his blood beat from outside the ways, surging and furious. Ucho had always told him to breathe deeply when this happened, so he did, and his trembling gills calmed. Soon he smiled and set out into the ways, away from Orotsuna. Maybe there would be new wonderful scents to discover. Junara remembered what he wasn't meant to remember. There was something in the ways that didn't want to be known, but he wanted to know it. As long as he could convince it he wouldn't hurt it, it wouldn't change its mind. Oh, it would change its mind, and they'd be good friends. Other people couldn't follow. They saw solid rock when there was obviously nothing there. One time he'd gotten trapped behind it when he started wondering if all the people were right because they had working eyes and were probably much smarter than him. Then he'd remembered the fish cliff marking the way out was right there, and he remembered just how many times he'd saw it before, and was greeted with empty water instead of stone. It only seemed to block you when you thought it was there. So he thought it wasn't there and the place was his and something else's. Last time he'd felt the presence, he was at the music hall, so he went back. The gash on his chest had started to hurt more, so the cold of the waves was a welcome numb. No one was singing this time. The sense of awe and countless people's perfume still lingered, and he curled up beside the grate, breathing in the rich scents. His covert was a poor boundary between him and the stone, which greedily sapped his warmth. On the way back, it happened again. His head ached. This time, instead of a general sense that the waves would like a name, he felt words. Go back, little one. It's not you I'm worried about. It's you I'm worried for. I mean you no harm. Leave me be. I appreciate my privacy. Then there was a quieter sense of that words, but clear nonetheless. It worried if he would still fit in the ways come a decade from now, if he would even fit in his own room. That would be a shame if he couldn't navigate the place. And this is, oh no, it's spoilers, but it's not really spoilers by this point. I think I've implied that Junara is going to grow into a gigantic creature of sorts in the chapter 6, Endless. He couldn't go looking for it now. It was rude to impose it on his boundaries, Una had said, and he wouldn't be like all the rude people who grabbed at him when the world hurt, and he desperately needed to be alone in the quiet. Sometimes, after a long day, even people's voices hurt his ears. Maybe it was like him, except the world was allowed for it all the time instead of sometimes. As much as he wanted to meet it, he wouldn't. Another flood of memories. He recalled the rush of water as it had warped and shifted into strange shapes. He remembered 3 fast heartbeats, fast and light as a flittern. What a beautiful creature it was, to make the water sing like that. When he got back, Clam was there, her heartbeat steady and slow. It didn't mean she was calm or happy, although, just that she was certain. He needed to remember that. She didn't have a scent either, so it was impossible to tell how she was feeling. It scared him. I got you some kelp and a breakfast platter. I told them you were sick and underweight, and they gave you plenty of sweets. Kelp first, though. He took it and started eating. There was a soft warmth as Clam sat down on the hammock. You really are adorable, you know? Adorable. People kept on calling him that when he was a diplomat. We put that in italics. He hadn't heard of a single respected diplomat people thought were adorable. They used words like respectable or dignified instead. So added that the instead. It seemed to make Clam happy at least. Okay. She laughed again. People did that a lot too. How do I stop being adorable and start being respectable? I think it will take some time. Oh, you still need to finish the kelp. He quickly inhaled it so the bitter taste wouldn't linger. Nearly coughed it back up, and she laughed again. And let's change this to Clam. And Clam laughed again. He found himself not liking her very much. Still, he was a diplomat, and she would never know. Personal feelings were irrelevant. It is important to make people feel respected and important, even if they made fun of you and called you names. After he finished the meal, he swam up and bowed, smiling widely. It was a real smile. He was still happy to make her happy after all. He didn't think servants got bowed to very much. Please could I have another plate? Sam kelp too, he said. He needed everything if he was to grow tall, he knew. I'll go get. He occupied himself with the fascinating embroidery on a pillow and fake octopus until she was back. Here you go, she said, handing him the second platter. Where were you earlier today? I didn't see you. In the ways, he said. They were cold. He'd hoped. Let's change this to he'd rather than he. He'd hoped she'd give him a blanket after knowing he'd been there, but she hadn't. Oh, oops. What's that? A place that goes on forever. It's very cold. I like it there. Can you take me there? He shuddered. Everyone who followed him there followed him to hunt. He'd escaped Ordsona so many times by swimming into the waves, but just barely. No, he hissed. It's mine. That's what I expected you to say. Something like that at least. Why? You're inexalted. I don't understand. Let's make this a separate paragraph. If he said that, people sometimes started talking in ways that actually made sense. Other times, needed to make time into times, they just laughed. She didn't laugh, thankfully. Change this to clarity. Clam didn't laugh, thankfully. She made some strange movement that shifted the waters. Exalted sometimes. Let me think about how to say this. They're told they deserve all the world, and they get the sense all of it's theirs. Respect, dignity, all of it has to be theirs, and no one else can have a piece, because they've earned all of it. But they haven't? She was still talking nonsense. He didn't understand how you could have pieces of the world unless they were rocks, and the rocks didn't seem that important. All apologies to rocks. All apologies to rocks. I think this is my favorite line of the story so far. The story I've edited today. And let's make this a separate paragraph. He turned to face her. It was the polite thing to do. Let's add a bit of an action beat here, just so that, because I realize it's a lot of uninterrupted dialogue without any action beats. So I think just adding a little bit will serve to ground the scene, make it feel less like talking heads. He turned to face her. It was a polite thing to do. You can follow me as long as you promise not to hunt. Why would I hunt? I don't know. Because you want to? I don't like to hunt. I'm a butcher, but everything's already... I need to make it clear that she was about to say... Never mind. I don't kill things or hunt them. It's not my job. There's a friendly creature there, but it doesn't like people. Is it your imaginary friend? No, it's real. Clam laughed. Kids and their imaginations. I don't have an imagination, he said. The doctors had said so. And then I need to make sure that this is in the same paragraph, that it's clear it's him speaking, not Clam. Please don't follow. Maybe there's something about following me that makes people hunt. Alright, she ruffled the curly hair on his head. It's all yours for now. And the creatures, he insisted. And your imaginary friends. Thank you for remembering them, he said. Okay, I think I can still go forward. Or perhaps, how long have I been streaming for? Only an hour? Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay, chapter 14, Mother's Monopoly. Alright. Let's... Oh, that story is a short. Oh wait, let's get a word counter up. Word counter. How long is this chapter? Oh, that's actually a decent amount. Nearly 1,400 words. Alright. Okay, so the way I do it is I take the paragraph from draft number 5, then I copy and paste it into draft number 6. Because at this point, it doesn't need that many structural edits. It mostly needs a line editing. And then after I finish line editing and adding just a little bit to... Oh, there's something I need to do as well. Scene to put into Be the Brazen. I need to figure out where this scene goes from Junaro's perspective and incorporate that into the draft, but I think that's about it, really. I just have this scene to put in, and that's it. And then it's mostly line editing for clarity, making sure that it's clear that Junaro is a closeted trans guy who hasn't come out to those around him just yet. Okay, chapter 14, Mother's Monopoly. Lumen paced the confines of her room, wishing she'd brought weight so the exercise sated her. This was a light, dissatisfying affair, like eating bubble kelp. His scars ached as though fresh, and the pacing certainly wasn't helping. And then let's change this to Junaro Lokai Da's last name. She should get Da enrolled in the self-defense class, or else teach him how to fight herself. Change this to the girl. For that, she'd need a training room. For that, she'd need to pay to gain entry. Her supply of salary wouldn't last long, especially if she funded private training sessions. Ideally with someone gentler and more competent than herself. She lost herself in battle fever and sometimes wounded her opponents instead of disarming them. Oh, a grin nearly split her face in two. Ludicrous riches were within her reach. She could ask for an outrageously large loan and play the fool, lean into the notions of one from an ignorant small house, as grating as that would be. All she'd have to do was pretend she had a small-minded man's knowledge of finance, brag about how certain she was that this risky venture would go through, and then wait for the loaner's greed to tear them to shreds. She asked a servant for guide. It trembled. No, Lumen is no longer as prejudiced as she once was, so Lumen would not think of them as it. Any longer? I figured it doesn't make sense. Hello, Maria. How are you? Are you working on a writing project yourself, or are you just here for co-working? I hope you are having an excellent day. And if you're writing anything or working on a creative project, TTRPG, I'd love to hear about it. This place was a tumult of light. Perhaps she should wear a thicker veil, as other Deepwater did. Going to change this to Deepwater Orakan to make it clear that Deepwater is a subspecies of Orakan, because otherwise, if I just have it separately, it's very unclear that it's a subspecies. And I think, let me go to pages, and for people who are new here, this is Lumen. I need to wait for this to load. And then, there we go. Okay. She's a doctor and an accountant, currently forced to be a soldier at this stage in the story. This place was a tumult of light. Perhaps she should wear a thicker veil, as the Deepwater Arakan did, but she prized unimpeded vision. The gleaming white and gold and ochre pierced her eyes. And still, when she passed through the circular passageways denoting entry to a new arc, the ones dripping with yellow beads, she felt like she swam. Let's remove the like here. Let's change it to as though. She felt as though she swam through the eyes of some grand creature. Her tail ached from the long swim. She'd arrived. It went exactly as planned. They gave her the loan, eager to extort her, the carrion eaters, ready to pull and peck at a woman already wounded. Next was to invest. Mother had control over most of the trade routes. She hired moon-blessed revenants and mages to sabotage. Let's remove the mages. She hired moon-blessed revenants, suffused by grace, to sabotage other trade routes. Few dared topple her monopoly, as none could afford to sway the moon-blessed over to their side. No doubt she would sabotage the routes Lumen knew about, or at least the ones she believed Lumen was aware of. She knew of all of them, and could commit most of them to memory. The repetition of them. Let's remove that. It's redundant. She knew of all of them, and committed most to memory by repetition. The Tsemar shells should be unharmed along with the dyes. The artifact trade. Mother would not be so foolish as to ruin a wise venture despite her, would she? Let's change the she here to Lumen to make it clear what the pronoun is referring to. Lumen would keep her eyes on the news and invest elsewhere, just in case. The swim to the investment center was short, close to where they doled out loans. No one assailed her on the way or stole her surgery. And part of me... let's add something. She almost wished someone had just to have an outlet for restless energy. Lumen joined the line and struggled not to pace. It wasn't virtuous of a woman to fidget. She busied herself in inspecting the vaulted ceilings and became lost in the warp and wind of the geometric patterns. Someone had to nudge her forward on the few occasions. It was now her time. I request to invest my salary equally between several trades. The blue-scaled woman behind the desk nodded and spoke in a dull, raspy voice. What shall you invest in? We have pamphlets for ventures currently succeeding. You will be sure to... Lumen cut off the advertisement and listed all the trades she wanted to invest in, about 20 different ventures. As much as she abhorred giving Mother yet more support, these were the only ones guaranteed to turn a profit. She had to sign paperwork with her number and several other things she didn't know the meaning of. A notice at the end informed her that low waning means she'd receive minimal profits. She sighed. Lumen, let's change that to Lumen. Lumen sighed. She'd have to wait in line again. Take care of my surgery. The woman stared, unfazed. Please. And I'm putting this into a separate paragraph, because otherwise it's unclear that it's Lumen speaking. Otherwise it seems like it's the woman speaking, not Lumen. We will take care of your surgery for a price. How long will it be with us? 1 turning. Your name and number, please. She didn't remember it from the glimpse, only that it had no primes. I will carry my surgery with me. A gong resounded, either the second or the third of the day, making her flinch. She had to ask many servants for the way to the bureaucrat's office and bowed to all at least once. It was easier than expected, genuflecting to servants. She thought her pride would impede her from her duties as the second lowest at... Let's change it to at the second lowest waning, not as. Right? No, it should be as. I was right the first time. She thought her pride would impede her duties as the second lowest waning, but she seemed to have little. Her anger at this was minimal. She only wished to punt a freeze and watch it chatter. Lumen supposed it was because servants had to have some competency. The ones who didn't were dead, whereas the exalted could swim by on status alone without having developed any meaningful talents. Servants, even though they had sinned, were at least taking measures to make up for their indignity. No, Lumen would say indignity is plural, right? Because she's a jerk. She's fun to write, though. I love her. The exalted, more often than not, basked in their status like a radiator in the sun. It took an age, but she eventually received a slip with her reference number and other relevant information. She would commit it to memory over the following days. Lumen queued again. Let's add again. Again. And I need to express frustration at this. Lumen queued again. Blasted suns above. No, there are no suns. Let's change it to blasted moons above. Her tail aching as though a leviathan had crawled around it, and found herself met with the same blue-scaled woman. Thank the sun, she could finally invest. The conversation was quick. Lumen smiled at her and slid her surgery across the table. The woman took it. She blinked. She'd forgotten to set aside any money. That was all her surgery. If she didn't receive a return on an investment soon, she would be evicted. Perhaps she could convince the soldiers she was well enough to join, and be paid before the month ended. Lumen swam to the soldiers' quarters at midnight and knocked, only having to ask for directions a few times. The heavy door slowly screeched to the side, enveloped by the hollow walls. A man with heavy dark circles and a stooped head greeted her on the other side. The lights had dimmed, but she could still note the many medals on his uniform. This part seems like a sentence fragment. Let's change this. Let's change it so that it's no longer a sentence fragment, and make it so that it reads as, but she could still note the many medals on his uniform with her deep water visual acuity. I request to join. My wounds are sufficiently healed, I can train. Why so desperate, miss? I invested everything, now I have insufficient surgery to pay rent. He moaned and put a hand to his face, then chuckled. You can always join us in the barracks if you get evicted, he said. We've got a lot who can't afford a home or want to spend it all on drink instead. What will I be paid? At the second lowest waning, you won't be paid enough to keep your home. Start moving in early. There's a place, don't know what it's called, but they'll store your belongings for you for just a few surgery. Keep everything safe. Of course we've got a cubby for you, but it's not like that's enough to store wardrobe, just the essentials. Why have I been assigned to a man's training grounds? Insult, he said abruptly. You're an Okonan? Probably should just translate it. Nah. I'll keep it in Arakan, the language that you're an Okonan. They figured you didn't count as a woman and put you here. Our men might be uncomfortable around you. Don't mind them. They'll get used to you eventually. Might take them some convincing to spar with you. They won't figure it fair. You can still train by yourself if they refuse. If I join now, will I be paid at the end of the month? No, it takes a full month's work to be paid. You missed the first 3 weeks. Not like it would have been enough anyway. As she packed, the plump it's Senala now. The plump Senala woman came to visit, the one who'd given her ferments and rambled for hours. This woman might as well be a stranger for how much Lumen remembered of her. Let's change that. The pain and alcohol had rendered Lumen's memory useless. The woman held a notebook to her chest. Where are you going? I'll be Solid. Funny typo. Solid. I'll be staying in the soldiers' barracks at Anachua. I don't know how to pronounce that. When there was no response, she added, I foolishly spent all my money on investments. The woman sobbed and held Lumen in a tight embrace. The hug was warm, at least. She hadn't expected the woman to care for her. This seemed ridiculous. You have known me for less than a week. Stop your insipid crying. This is no loss. No one talks to Senala woman, she said, choked by sobs. No one except you. Lumen patted the woman on the back. I'll visit you, she said, and then winced. She was a woman of her word. She'd have to make good on this. Alright. It's really good. I think we've added how many chapters? One, two, three. Wait, we've added one, two, three, four chapters. Excellent. Who is streaming? Let's raid her. Unless someone has a suggestion of who I could raid, I'd love to. Let me try and find uh, who is currently streaming writing. Going to take a look. Categories, writing and reading. Where to go? Let's raid Grog mode. They seem cool. Raid Grog mode. Alright, thank you so much everyone. I hope you all have an absolutely splendid day. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you had a good time. Goodbye all. Take care.